dot will start. There, we're on.
All right. I call this hearing of the Archaeological Review Committee of Thursday, 5 November 2020 to order. May we have a roll call, please?
David Eck,
Present.
Jake Ivey,
Present.
Derek Pierce,
Present.
Courtney Wands,
Excused.
Dale Zinn
Yet to be.
is absent for the time being. Okay. We have a quorum, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. First item then is to consider approval of the agenda. I
I
call,
move to approve the agenda.
there's a motion.
I second that.
All right. Moved and seconded. We have to have a roll call vote.
Yes, sir. Jake Ivey.
Aye.
Oh, wait just a minute. Mr. Chair, you're going to have to vote until we get the fourth member. So I'll start with you. David Eck,
Aye.
Jake Ivey,
Aye, again.
Derek Pierce.
Aye.
Mr. Chair, the motion has been approved.
Thank you. Approval of minutes of October 1st, 2020, which are included in the packet. Thank you, everyone, for that. Anything to add to that, Nicole?
I have nothing to add.
Okay, then members, I want to consider the minutes as presented.
What happened?
Was that a no comment, Jake?
Oh, you were asking me to say something. Okay, I'm sorry. No comment.
All right. Member Pierce.
I have no comment either.
All right, I have nothing flagged, so we are unanimous in our no comment. We can entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the minutes of October 1st, 2020, as is.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you. Moved and seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Jake Ivey,
Aye.
Derek Pierce,
Aye.
David Eck. The motion has been approved, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. We'll now consider matters from the floor. If Nicole or Noah know of anyone who's wishing to speak from the floor, let them signal now.
Derek, I've taken over as the host, it looks like. We've got, it appears like it's just our applicants as attendees, but if anyone has a petition from the floor, feel free to use your raise hand function and I can recognize you to speak. Derek, I don't see any comments from the floor.
All right, thank you, thank you. Move on to action items then. Case number 2020-2772. Ron Winters, agent for CenturyLink, requests approval of an archaeological monitoring report for the installation of a subsurface fiber optic line at 2401 Galisteo Street in the Suburban and the River and Trails Archaeological Review Districts. We have a staff report from anonymous staff. Thank you. Nicole, anything to add to that?
I have nothing to add to the staff report, no.
All right. We then move on to the presenter. Mr. Winters, you'll have to be sworn in.
Mr. Winters,
Yes.
will you raise your right hand?
Yes.
Do you swear the testimony you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth under penalty of perjury? Say, I do.
I do. I do. Oh,
Please state your name and address and your title for the record.
Ron Winters, 109 Calle Paula, Santa Fe, New Mexico, 87505.
Thank you.
All right, Ron, is there anything we need to know in addition to your presented document?
Yes. I don't know if you remember this case and probably the next case. It seemed repetitive, and I explained at that time when I had a monitoring plan approved that it had to be split into two projects because it was two different clients for CenturyLink, and so that's why a lot of the information is doubled. One other thing I'd like to comment on that impacted me recently is that I'm sure you read the field notes, and I have had a very good relationship with CenturyLink over the last 6 years. I think doing 40 projects or something like to that to that number, and apparently after this field work back in January, when I arrived on site and saw that Kelly Cable had dug without calling me in to monitor, there was a little bit of a dust up with Charlie Lovato, and I worked with him after that on the Cathedral project. Sorry, this is so long-winded, but I want you to know this. Anyway, apparently Charlie Lovato went to CenturyLink and told
And
them that
Charlie who? Mr.
Charlie
Chair,
Lovato from Kelly Cable,
Charlie what?
Lovato.
Thank you.
So he went to CenturyLink and said, and not saying anything to me other than what you read in the report, but told CenturyLink that didn't they have any other archaeologists, because they could never get a hold of me because I was always on vacation. And the staff that I work with were quite upset, and Nilda Barella and Rochelle Abeda. And they did, and then subsequently, I think Trisha Rude did a project for them, and I don't know who else. But I mean, they can hire whoever they want. But it was just rather disturbing that this came out of me just trying to do my job, and so if it seemed a little strange, but I report everything in the field, as you know, ad nauseum probably. So that's that. But go ahead.
Mr. Chair and Milicia, I just wanted to note for the record that it appears Member Zinn has joined us.
True, that is true.
Hi
Thank
there.
you.
He arrived at the beginning of the applicant's presentation and is probably
Okay,
up to
I
speed.
will put that up there. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. I apologize for interrupting, Mr. Winter.
No problem. I was done with what I had to say.
Right, then your timing is perfect. We will move to commentary from committee members. And since Dale just got here, let's pick on member Ivy first.
I have no comments other than that last report on October 2nd. Waiting for Godot, so to speak. Interesting job you had that time, Ron. Other than that, no comment.
Thank you.
Member Pierce.
Just a couple of quick comments. I know this area very well. I traverse it almost every day. So I'm not surprised Mr. Winters didn't find anything. I have yet to see a single artifact on the surface anyway, anywhere that I've gone. It would have been nice, however, Ron, if you'd maybe mentioned this area is pretty close to the old airport, which would have been an additional source of disturbance. Would have been nice to know exactly how that laid out, or at least as best you could reconstruct. But
Okay.
Otherwise, I have no comment.
All right. Thank you. Member Zinn.
I've read through it. I didn't hear the presentation, but I do have no comments.
All right, then I just have one clarifying question because I think I'm misunderstood. In your narrative in support of that last paragraph where they did something without benefit of monitoring.
What page, Mr. Chair?
Page 33.
Thank you.
So am I understanding correctly? There was no excavation present for the installation of the handhole, and all of that happened in your absence.
Well, I don't know. So David, where the line left Galisteo and crossed under the tracks to where, you know, where the Budweiser distributor is there on Sawmill?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so where it went from there, that was the remaining piece that months passed and this handhole was open, and I would check periodically. I called Charlie Lovato from Kelly Cable, you know, about when they were going to finish it, because I needed to be there when they connected to the other, you know, the last connection. And I was never notified. And as I do with my project, I went by one day and suddenly, you know, the handhole is installed. There's locates going, you know, across the tracks, and the pin flags where the route was supposed to go. The problem is I couldn't go on the other side. It was where they connected was inside a locked fenced area where they were to connect, you know, to the existing utilities. So I couldn't see what they did there, but it was, the job was obviously completed without me.
All right. Then one question about your previous research. Are you able to access the data online, or are you reliant upon ARMS staff to access the data for you?
I usually do that myself. Sometimes I need to consult with them, but normally I try and do that myself. Did I miss something?
Well, it seems that, yes, that you missed a few things that took place within 500 meters of the project area. And there's also, within the stated distance that you said, a half a mile, there's also another site that's within that radius. So I was just curious. I don't think you need to change anything, but it is the case that it's sometimes difficult to see everything in ARMS. And unless
Right.
you're utilizing a GIS-based query, you may or may not get all of the information you're seeking.
And sometimes, David, I think with a project like this is because it's a linear project, you know, it's one thing if it's a block survey, when it's linear, sometimes maybe it could be that, you know, I didn't extend far enough from the extremities, you know, the end of both of those, you know, the start and the beginning of project, end of project. If that might have occurred.
There's lots of variation. So thank you. That's all. We can have a motion.
Go ahead, Jake.
Okay. I move that in case 2020 2772, that we approve the report with no changes.
Second.
I second that.
Okay.
Okay, you can move to the roll call vote, please.
Jake Ivey,
Aye.
Derek Pierce,
Aye.
Dale Zinn.
Yes.
The motion has been approved, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. We will move on to case number 2773. Ron Winters, agent for CenturyLink, requests approval of an archaeological monitoring report for the installation of a subsurface fiber optic line at 2650 Sawmill Road in the Rivers and Trails Archaeological Review District. Do we have a staff report? Anything to add, Nicole?
I have nothing to add, Chair Eck.
Mr. Winters, you've already been sworn in. Do you have anything that we need to know?
I do not.
All right. Committee members. Members in.
I have no questions.
All right. Member Pierce.
No, no comments.
Member Ivy.
No comment.
All right. My only offering then is the same on the previous research. There seems to be 4 other activities that took place within 500 meters and well within the stated half-mile radius. And that same site is within the radius for this project as well.
Okay.
That's all.
Eric, this is Sally. I forgot to say on the last case, we should probably be noting for the record if there's no public comment.
Oops,
that
yes.
that the opportunity was available, and I forgot to remind. I'm almost positive our other attendee is our applicant for the 4th case.
Correct.
If I'm wrong and you wanted to comment on the previous case attendee, feel free to raise your hand, Eric Blinman, but I'm almost positive that's why he's here. But if we could note for the record that there were no public comment. That would
I'm
be.
sorry, Sally.
Oh, no worries.
Okay.
Thank you. No, I think there's really nobody here, but we should go ahead and note for the record that there was no public
I will
comment.
do so.
By evidence
thanks.
by the thundering silence.
I know, right? Thanks.
And thank you. I never, ever remember that.
No.
We are on YouTube, so one of these days we may get a following. You never know.
Only because of you, Sally.
We could start promoting it on Facebook or something.
Right. We can sell some Wheaties
We'll be right up
commercials.
there with Justin Bieber. My goodness.
All right.
Moving on.
Let's move on to case number 2781.
We
Mr.
Did we
didn't
take
have
a
a
vote?
motion. We have
We
no
didn't
motion.
have a motion.
All right, you totally
But-
derailed me.
Sorry, I
But do-
derailed us.
All right,
Facilitate that, I'm going to move that we pass the case 2020-02-773 as submitted. And that's it.
I'll second that.
moved and seconded. Let's have the roll call vote, please.
Mr. Chair, should you call for public comment?
Oh, rats, yes.
All for the rats, what?
If there's anyone who wishes to comment, please signify by raising your digital hand.
All right, I see no hands. Thank you.
All right,
All right, Derek Pierce,
Aye.
Dale Zinn,
Yes.
and Jake Ivy.
Aye.
The motion has been approved, Mr. Chair.
thank you. If I haven't forgotten anything else, let's move on to case number 2781. Ron Winters, agent for James Hennahan, requests approval of an archaeological reconnaissance report in advance of development activities at 314 North Guadalupe Street, Tract 1 in the historic Downtown Archaeological Review District. We do have a staff report. Is there anything to add to that, Nicole?
No, I have no comment.
Mr. Winters, you already have been sworn in. Is there anything that we need to know in addition to your presentation on paper?
Yes, I was really torn on this one because of the number of artifacts found in a single stratum in that test unit in the northwest corner of the site. I didn't see that stratum didn't exist in either one of the trenches or in the other test unit, and so you know I went back and forth. If you want me to make it a site, that single unit, I certainly can do that. I talked to Doug Bogus about this, who did the work, the prior work on the lot, track 2, the lot to the south. And it didn't really read like what he found. And so I also considered using that same LA number, but because I didn't find it in between, where he, and in fact, his test unit 2 was, I don't know if it was devoid of artifacts, I don't remember right now, or there were very little, because he cut the site off basically at the property line. And the work that I found confirmed that he was correct in that assumption. And the other thing is, and again, on this, I was back and forth. On the cesspit that I found on 236 Montezuma, 239 Montezuma, anyway, you thought that maybe that should be considered a site and not a historic cultural property. And again, if you'd like that, given a site designation, I saw it as not dissimilar to what I'm going to record at the Inn of Loretto with the boiler room, that it's a built structure, related to, a building on the property. But, I'm amenable to whatever the committee decides and how you want to go with this, but that's, I just wanted to explain, why I did what I did.
All right, Nicole?
I just have one comment that might be helpful in doing work, particularly in the downtown archaeological review district and in parts of the river and trails, is to look at the HCPI forms to get a sense of what the built environment might have been or how things may have changed. So just as a research suggestion.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Committee. Member Zen.
I was waiting for a advice or on Ron's question. Did the chair or anybody else have any comments about that? Or are you going to address that in your comments about site versus?
Well, rather than me talk over everybody and chime in immediately, I thought we should probably go through our process and have folks offer whatever commentary they
Okay,
want,
that's fine.
even perhaps
We'll leave
whether they're
Ron's on the table. I have no comments except for I'm curious about the answer to that question.
all right. Member Ivy.
I'm going to go with no comment because I don't feel like I can make a judgment on Ron's questions there.
All right. Member Pierce.
Yeah, I'll take a stab at contributing something anyway. Well, first of all, Ron, in terms of whether it's a site, a resource or not, what's your feeling personally in terms of whether this is possibly intact strata or just, the regular smear?
I thought I addressed that, but if I didn't, it heavily disturbed. And in fact, if you look at the artifacts, there's everything from prehistoric to historic, ceramic, glass, up to 32 caliber bullet, all in about 15 centimeters. And there's nothing, there's 10 centimeters below that, there's nothing. And I think I went to 52 in that unit. And the, above that, there's nothing. So that's where I was struggling. Certainly there were a lot of artifacts that came out of it, but the context, in which they were found was not, lacked integrity, I guess I'd say.
Yeah. So they were chronologically mixed. There was no,
Exactly. And
yeah.
also, I don't know if I stated this, but most of them were found on the west half of the unit or the west side of the unit. So it wasn't even, across the whole unit. And if you look on the location of that trench, it was in close enough proximity to that if had it extended to the east, I would have seen it in the sidewall, in the profile of the trench, trench
Mhm.
2.
yeah. Well, I'll defer to the rest of the committee, but yeah, I would agree that in this part of Santa Fe, even 96 artifacts can be background noise.
And Derek, if you looked at, or remember, the artifact count in Doug Bogus's unit, I mean, much, much higher than that.
Yes, I do remember
I
that.
remember
yeah.
that you had him go back
Yeah,
and
I
do
was
some more
heavy.
excavation.
Yeah, and it sounds like you've determined that this is a distinct and separate manifestation from that. So,
I believe so.
yeah. Okay, so my second point is in terms of whether the cistern should be an archaeological site on an LA form or an HCPI.
Mhm.
I have discussed this with the SHPO and some other people ad nauseum for a couple of years now. I still don't have a good answer to give you. The guidance that's kind of floating out there or will be released is that anything that can be considered a structure under National Register criteria would be on an HCPI form. But this is a little different. It's, it's subsurface, it's buried. I honestly don't know what to tell you, except that Matt Barber and OAS had that really elaborate dome cistern there on the parking lot by the Baton building.
Yes.
I would maybe follow the lead there. I think
Okay.
they went with LA.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Thank you. Page 28, it's packet page 29. The last entry in your previous research table. The NIMCRIS project number should be 144352.
Okay.
Your page 44, packet page 45, third paragraph. Fourth line from the bottom and the fifth line. The plural of stratum is strata.
All
Yeah.
right.
I think spell check did you a disfavor. It should be strata in both instances in that sentence.
Got it.
One last editorial thing, your page 58, packet page 59, third paragraph, fifth line. Stratum came out as startum, so that's stratum. So then back to this structure. I agree with Member Pierce that I don't think it matters a great deal. We have a documentation of this entity to the extent that we could see it. What I would like to ask, and this begins on your page 49, packet page 50, and maybe closes a few pages later, the historic cesspit discussion. Is there anywhere where you state clearly that there is no fill in this cesspit?
Fill in terms of, well, I don't think I stated specifically. I talk about, the opening where the monofragment was.
Yep.
It was I could see into there. I mean, I didn't see feel, it appeared to be, I didn't stick my hand in there, or, I mean, as best as I could. There was dirt, some dirt that had fallen, but as best as I could, it looked like it was, open. And the cap was intact, the concrete cap on top.
Okay.
What kind of a pit, Mr. Chair, did he say?
A cesspit, CESS.
Like CESS?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, got it. Thank you.
So I wanted to ask, because the potential for artifacts in the fill of such a feature that may relate to its period of use and may also define its termination of use and maybe subsequent reuse would be very informative. So if there were fill with the potential for bearing artifacts, that would be an important thing to know.
And that might require, disassembling it or removing the cap. But from what I could see, from that small opening, it appeared to me that the mono was kind of used as a stopper or a door or some kind of plug, the way it was situated there. And I felt like it was probably something that could have been picked up on Doug's site, to the south, because it definitely seemed like it was not in its original context. I based my date on the piece partly due to the construction of the house, and also Mr. Zen's. I sent him a photo and asked him, and you see that in their personal communication, about, based on the materials used, when this might have been constructed, and the range that he gave me, which I tell you in the report, coincided with the construction of the building. So I felt like I was, and I also compared it to the one I found on Montezuma, which I felt, based on its construction and material and the building that it served, were earlier than this structure.
All right. Page 50, packet page 51. The very first line states that the following information, and I am intuiting that to mean the following information on the next 2 pages, was sourced from Wikipedia.
Mm-hmm.
Wikipedia is not generally considered to be a definitive, reliable, and helpful source of information to be cited. It certainly can lead you towards sources that might have more definitive information to offer, but I would strongly discourage the use of reference to Wikipedia as something to be presented in a report of archaeological investigation.
I understand that. It was just that in fact, I looked at numerous articles. What I was trying to do was just give some background on this type of structure in the US. It's not like there's books written about it. And, it was a little hard to source information based on the type of structure that I was dealing with, the time period, and the location. But I certainly understand that, David. There's, it's not this a necessarily, qualified source.
Then, having said that, if one is going to cite Wikipedia, you need to include a citation of the article in keeping with some style guide that lays out how to do so. There's a number of guides available online. In fact, Chicago Manual might be the easiest one to make access to, but you do need to include a citation to the article, title, its web address, the version, and all those details that are called forth in a typical style guide of how to cite something off the web.
Got it.
I just would really, really like to know if there's anything in the cesspit.
Can I have a question, Mr. Chairman? Ron, did you find, was there a cap down a certain distance, or was it, you didn't probe it at all with any kind of object or?
No,
your
because of the
hand?
size of the opening, it wasn't, but I mean, the cap, oh, are you talking about the interior?
Yeah, typically there would have been a concrete cap, maybe 2 or 3, 4 feet down.
I didn't see it, Dale. You know, the only concrete cap was at the surface.
Right. So it could very well just been casual fill. There could actually be a concrete cap, which could be dangerous. In the future, I don't know what extent the exploration is necessary to assure the safety of any kind of on-site features, not from an archaeological standpoint, but from a personal safety feature.
Right.
Having one collapse in my front yard about 40 years ago, I almost took my mother out. That I'm aware of those kinds of things where it'll collapse down about 4 feet and you think, oh, that's interesting. And then all of a sudden the rest of it goes and it's 40 feet deep.
Wow.
I don't know whether this should be explored further, not as an archaeological reason, but as for safety reasons. But that's up to the owner.
Right, and he's definitely aware of.
And it's so noted here in the minutes that I would make that recommendation. And probably to have an archaeologist on site to help out if it can be done.
I think the improvements they're talking about are going to be in the front, not in the back at all.
Right.
Because of the, there's a limited space back there between this tract 1 and tract 2. But
Right.
my understanding is it will all be up, in the northern part of the lot from where the house is.
It's so noted. That's all I can say.
Okay.
If members have any further discussion, now's your opportunity.
And the public.
If we could invite any members of the public who wish to speak. I think there are still none.
We're batting clean record 0.
Correct. I don't see any raised hands from members of the public that wish to comment.
If there are no raised hands, we will move on to considering a motion.
I'd move for approval of case 2781 with the editorial corrections asked for and pointed out by the chair, and with the additional changes to the notations for the Wikipedia entry.
Sorry, with additional change to?
Changes to the citations to improve the Wikipedia
Thank you.
citation, if that's possible.
I second that.
Moved and seconded. We may move to a roll call vote.
Yes, sir. Okay. Derek Pierce,
Aye.
Dale Zinn,
Yes,
Jake Abbey. Jake Abbey,
Aye.
the motion has been approved, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. We will move on to case number 2784.
Thank you, everyone.
thank you.
Office of Archaeological Studies, agent for PNM, requests approval of an archaeological monitoring plan for subsurface cable installation along South Meadows Road in the River and Trails Archaeological Review District. Staff report. Thank you. Is there anything to add, Nicole?
I have nothing to add, Chair.
All right, we have Dr. Blinman in attendance representing the Office of Archaeological Studies. He'll need to be sworn in.
And who am I swearing in? Dr.
Eric Blinman.
Blinman. Raise your right hand. Under penalty of perjury, do you swear the testimony you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And would you please state your name, address, and title for the record?
Eric Blinman, 7 Old Cochiti Road, Santa Fe, New Mexico, 87507. My title is Director, Office of Archaeological Studies.
Thank you.
All right. Dr. Blinman, is there anything we need to know in addition to the presented document?
Nothing that has been revealed to me. The greatest complexity in my mind is integrating this with the BLM land that is underneath parts of the installation. And I've raised this with PNM several times, but they have been unable to come to a resolution. So for the purposes of this, I would say that unless BLM comes up with an objection, we would apply city recommendations for monitoring to the entire length of the project, whether it's city land or BLM land.
All right. Thank you for the striking color presentation. Let's move on to committee members. Member Pierce.
My only concern was what Dr. Blinman just alluded to, that it's multi-jurisdictional. So it's my understanding that at least your aim is to do a single report for the entire project, not split it up. Is that correct, Eric?
We will, yes, I would love to be able to do a single report for the entire length. I think it would actually serve everyone in the future better if it's treated as a single entity.
I hope so, yeah. Hopefully the BLM will agree, but you never know until you ask.
Yes.
Right. But other than that, I have no comments.
All right. Member Zinn.
No comments.
Member Ivy.
No comment.
The only thing I would offer is that according to my GIS, the location of the northernmost locations for pull boxes, well, maybe it's the switch gear and the first pull box. There are 2 squares at the north end of this.
Yes, that's correct. The right-hand most one of those is the switch gear that's on private land.
Ah. Okay. The answer to my dilemma probably lies in the fact that the locational information of previous survey isn't always as accurate as we might like, but it appears to me from looking at the GIS that that particular location falls into unsurveyed space. And possibly the first pull box as well. But if we know, for instance, from other documents that you might have in hand, like the actual report of some of these surveys, you may perhaps know better than what the GIS data suggests.
If I can direct you to figure A1.
And what page is that on?
My page 38.
Thank you.
Our NIMCRIS check shows the entirety of the project as being previously surveyed.
Yeah, I saw that. The polygon that represents the project area is somewhat
Overly large.
and stylized somewhat. It does not actually follow the trajectory of the road that your first map shows that you'll be paralleling.
That's correct. The background aerial for the NIMCRIS maps predates the development of that road.
Right. And it's that little tiny corner between the surveyed spaces that is immediately north of the label for activity 143855 that
I see.
is
Yes.
what seems to, on my GIS at least, relate to the easternmost fence of the constructed road, the area immediately beyond said fence where presumably this installation would be.
Okay. Got it.
It's not that big a deal. I just wanted you to know that it wasn't exactly all demonstrated to have been surveyed. And since I know you guys are going to go out there and look it over anyhow, I fully anticipate you'll have lots of opportunity to inspect said area and be sure of everything before we proceed.
I assure you we will do that.
Thank you. That is all. We can entertain questions from the interested public who must signify by raising their virtual hand.
Eric, I don't see any interested members of the public at this time.
Thank you. Committee members, we can have a motion.
Comments first, I think.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve case 2784, archaeological monitoring plan for northern segment of South Meadows Road.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Let's have the roll call vote, please.
Were there corrections, Mr. Chair? I want to be sure.
There were no corrections. There was
Thank you. Suggestions, okay. All right. I presume you're ready for a roll call vote?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Jake Ivy,
Aye.
Derek Pierce,
Aye.
Dale Sand.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, the motion has been approved.
Thank you. And thank you, Dr. Brennan, for making the
Thank
virtual
you.
trip.
You're welcome.
Item G on the agenda, discussion items. Item H.
Heck, I'm not aware of any discussion items unless Lanny or Nicole has something.
I don't have any discussion items for this hearing, no.
They're immediately one above the other on my screen, and they both shook their head in unison. So matters from the committee. I would like to raise one question because I am not in a position to access the records as efficiently and quickly as I might like. But in traversing neighborhoods on my obligatory walk for health, I noticed some major renovations of fences and landscaping and terrain within a certain piece of property. And what caught my eye was the fact that the renovations and earth moving, etc., have obliterated something that I, for years, have taken to be one of the several traces of the Santa Fe Trail as documented by Patel and Tigas. So I was wondering how that could have happened and how to best double check the records to see what work was done in advance of approval of what might have been.
This is in the downtown historic district.
It's on 514 East Coronado Road.
Who not?
514 East,
Coronado.
thank you.
Nicole, is that the Dongaspar or not?
That would be, yes, it would be the Don Gaspar area, and it would be, I'd have to look at the map because that's like right on the edge of, I'll have to look at the map to see where that's in, because I don't know that the River and Trails runs that through that area. And not to say that there might not be ruts, but I'll have to look at a map and look at that property, and then we can kind of get a sense of what permits were given and when. And we have a GIS layer that has the ruts overlaying, you know, all parts of the city where they go through.
That's really cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so we have one for the acequias too, just so you all know. So we can look at that, and the only way I would think that that they were taken out, I guess is the best way that I'll put them, if they was because they weren't identified on an easement or as an easement on the plat. So they had no protection. And I'd have to look at it to see kind of why that happened, but we can look into that and check it out. See what happened.
I didn't have Patel and Tigas at hand to look.
I have it.
Yeah, Mr. Chair. Well, first of all, I used to live 2 doors down from there, so I know exactly what you're talking about. And there was a previous case some time ago on that same stretch of Coronado Road that did identify those ruts as part of the trail.
It did. Okay.
Yeah.
So either there wasn't an easement placed on the plat, so it wasn't flagged in any way when they went for permit, or they did the work prior to receiving a permit, but it still should have been caught at the time of permit. So I'm guessing that there was just not an easement placed on it. And I'll have to look and see. I'll have to look and see what happened, do some research, but I can get back to you probably next week about that.
All right.
It raises the question, if that happened in this case, how much more of the trail is not protected and not visible to people besides us?
Yeah, and that is a procedural issue, I would say, internally, for when things kind of, I'm trying to remember all of the processes, and then they've changed a little bit because of EnerGov and stuff like that. But ultimately, there wasn't a trigger for a check, and that happens in places around town that it gets to, city HPD, and there just isn't any, or it never makes it to the Historic Preservation Division for sign off, or there's mistakes by staff. But if there was an easement on the plat, then that shouldn't have happened at all. So I'll have to look and see what happened.
So am I correct in assuming that if this property is in fact in Rivers and Trails and therefore was under the threshold, not requiring review, that there is no process to check for trail segments? They wouldn't be required to?
That could be it. Yep, because it's not a 2-acre lot. However, the trail map should be checked anyway. But if there was some way that it wasn't, like, they applied for a permit and that permit was just never sent to city HPD, then you would miss that step. But
And
the planners,
there's no notations on the HDMI forms either, because that information is never transferred, because that's where H-Board would look for it, is in those forms, and that they're never flagged there, then staff has really got to be on the ball.
Yeah.
Knowing where these trails are.
And generally speaking, I feel like current planning staff, if they were doing any kind of review and also permits, is pretty aware of like all the maps, especially things like the trail ruts. So I don't know. I'll have to look and see kind of what happened with that. I was thinking further to the west. I know exactly what you're talking about now. And yes, it is in the River and Trails.
Yeah, I was able to bring up the city's GIS layer to verify rivers and trails. The data you mentioned, Nicole, as available for you all is not something that's presented on the public web.
I don't think it is. It would be, I would have to get, if you want, I'll take a minute and get on the GIS webpage. And we can look, but I don't believe it is. I don't think
internal GIS is the only one that has access.
That it is. Okay. Oh, thanks, Lenny. Yeah, of course you can answer this question. And the same thing for the acequias, I believe, too.
Correct.
I didn't hear the answer though. It's not available?
No, it's not available to the general public. It's only on the internal GIS.
All right.
On the internal what?
GIS, it's the mapping system.
Well, for years, I've been pointing at that alignment as we drive tour groups out of town, and I say, there is a trace of the Santa Fe Trail. It's right there. It's very obvious, and people got a sense for what it looks like. And I might be wrong. It might not be Santa Fe Trail, but on the other hand, it's gone, and we may never know.
Yeah. Yeah, let me look. Let me do some research and then get a little bit more reacquainted. I can even create a map. I think next week I'll have access to the internal drives for the city because I'll have a computer. And so I'll be able to get access to that trails map and we can put the layer over, kind of see where it's recorded there, or if, I mean, maybe it was never recorded, but it's doubtful because that map is pretty thorough, I think.
Well, I think members Pierce brought up the right thing is we need to find out if there's any other that are trail ruts that are at risk, and this committee's publicly notifying the city staff that we would like those trail maps to be checked regardless of liens or easements that might reinforce that. We still may have no power, but it'd be nice to at least, you may have an owner that actually doesn't want to destroy it. They just aren't knowledgeable.
Yeah, that they aren't aware. Yeah, we can, let me look into this, talk to current planning, and then maybe Sally if we need to talk about it too. And then we can, I can respond next week and let you guys know kind of what the process is now that we have EnerGov in place, and then how things are getting checked. So,
Okay.
okay. And then we can go from there if they're, I mean, we can maybe strategize about bringing awareness to the private property owners regarding that resource and where it runs through their property.
Very good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Item I, administrative matters and communication.
Do we need to provide further updates about Nicole's presence? I think she's been noted. Nicole's joined us on a contract through the rest of the year. She's about half-time right now. We are recruiting to fill Lisa Roach's position, I think, but it's not posted yet. So we're very lucky to have an experienced, competent person who could step in and help us in this time of transition. So thank you for the warm welcome. And Lanny, of course, has been here all along and has been helping hold down the fort as she has all along. So I think you all are in good hands. If anybody wants to add anything.
I think Lonnie needs more ammunition to hold down the fort.
She might, but I think she'll find it. She's very
Okay.
resourceful.
A few reinforcements wouldn't hurt.
It wouldn't. We always could use that, but
Well, welcome back, Nicole, and good luck.
Thanks.
And thank you, Lonnie.
Glad to be here. So
We are ecstatically glad that you are here.
thank you. Yeah, I'm really, yeah.
Yeah, it's a relief. But
Good.
it's not just a vacant position, you know?
Yeah. Eli Isaacson, the land use director, was super proactive about, he contacted me immediately and we were able to kind of get the ball rolling to try to make sure that there was some continuity, or not maybe continuity, but at least not a big gap in staffing. So,
No.
yeah, nice to see you all.
Right. Well, we are up for item Jake on the agenda.
I move, we adjourn.
Second.
Yes.
We need a roll call vote.
Let me
Yes.
find my roll call sheet. Jake Abbey,
Aye.
Derek Pierce,
Aye.
and Dale Zinn.
Enthusiastic, yes.
All right,
Motion has been approved. And could I ask who seconded? I was
I
still.
did, I think. I'm sure I did.
was members in.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. And Mr. Chair, could I have you state the time for the record?
we stand adjourned at 4:36 p.m.
Thank you.
Be
Thanks so much,
safe out there, everybody.
Take
Take
care.
care.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, good to see you.
December.
Bye.